While Rin and Shido are still arguing, Isagi thinks about how he can manage to play alongside two people who clearly don't get along. Isagi believes that the only way forward is to become the piece that helps Rin and Shido work together. As he becomes determined once more to prove his value, Team A starts their next attack. Rin and Shido again take the lead, still clashing with each other. But they also manage to include Hiyori, thanks to his amazing passing skills. At one point, while Hiyori has the ball, Otoya steps in to block the passing path to Rin, knowing Rin has been relying on Hiyori as a passing partner. Even though Isagi wants to take part, he's still being completely locked down by Karasu. At this moment, Nanase finally joins in, running alongside Isagi. Nanase explains that although he isn't skilled enough to keep up with top players like Rin and Shido, he can stay at Isagi's level and help force Karasu into having to defend two people at once. Hiyori spots the gap and passes to Nanase, and because Nanase pulls Karasu's focus, Isagi manages to escape Karasu by using his blind spot and dashes forward. As Isagi approaches the goal, he receives Nanase's pass. Chigiri is still blocking the path, so Isagi looks around to pass, only seeing a small opening toward Shido in front of the goal, since Otoya is keeping Rin under control. Shido wants the pass, and Isagi considers how Shido could score since his back is turned to Shiguma, who's defending him at the goal. Isagi quickly understands that Shido is setting up a post play against Shiguma, and thinking this could be his chemical reaction with Shido, he sends the ball. Shido compliments Isagi on the assist, and spins his body to launch a powerful inverted drive shot at the goal, curving the ball past Shiguma and into the net, making it a 3-4 match. While Shido celebrates, Isagi realizes there's no use hoping for a pass from Shido near the goal area, since Shido always prefers to rely on his elite shooting skills instead of passing. Isagi then thanks Nanase, since it was Nanase's help that allowed him to break free from Karasu and create a goal, which Nanase appreciates, asking Isagi to keep using him, as he can keep pace with him. Team B now begins their next offensive play, with Karasu and Otoya leading the charge. They rush toward Isagi, and Karasu gets frustrated that Isagi is finally starting to play properly. Karasu stays focused on trying to crush Isagi, and Isagi knows he must go in for the steal. But just before Isagi can act, Rin steps in, and demands that Karasu face him instead of wasting time on weaker players like Isagi. Karasu accepts and tries to dribble past Rin, even pushing him in an attempt to get by. However, Rin resists and blocks Karasu's hand by elbowing it away, and Karasu realizes Rin is fast enough to match all his arm movements. Karasu tries to go for a pass, knowing that getting past Rin alone isn't possible. But that small delay gives Isagi the chance to rush in from Karasu's blind spot and take the ball. This allows Team A to regain control and launch a counterattack. After Isagi successfully steals the ball from Karasu, he leads Team A's counterattack, planning to use Hiyori and Nanase as passing partners. Working together with Hiyori helps them get past Saramadara, while Otoya moves in to block Isagi, who's carrying the ball. But since Nanase keeps up, it turns into a fast-passing combination between Isagi, Hiyori, and Nanase, allowing the three of them to rush down the field by passing between each other before the rest of Team B can properly set up their defense. Because of that, the only thing the outnumbered duo of Otoya and Saramadara can do is try to stay with them and defend as best as they can. While Hiyori moves down the left side of the field with the ball, the fast Chigiri catches up to him. Hiyori looks for a teammate to pass to who is already in front of the goal. Shido positions himself at the front like last time, getting ready for another post play against Shiguma. Since Shido places himself on the left side of the penalty box, making it easier for left-sided Hiyori to pass, Isagi spots that the right side of the penalty box is wide open and sprints toward it. Hiyori notices Isagi aiming for the right side, and sends the ball over Shido toward that direction. Isagi runs in to meet the pass near the right side of the box, thinking that the whole play came together perfectly, and praising Hiyori for doing his role so well. But just as he stretches out his foot to receive it, the ball is slightly too far and slips by. Isagi feels frustrated that his body couldn't keep up with the play he imagined, just barely missing the ball, which Otoya clears away, making it a loose ball. The loose ball rolls near Rin and Karasu, who are both racing toward it and trying to push each other off. As they reach the ball, Rin stays one step ahead and manages to rebound it straight into the net's right corner, tying the game 4-4. Karasu sees what Rin did and realizes that Rin is a genius, especially because he pulled Karasu's body down at the last moment to open up a shot. Karasu also admits the issue is that Team A has started playing like a whole new and improved team ever since Isagi got his spark back. Isagi realizes that he, Hiyori, and Nanase have reached a level where they can play alongside Rin and Shido. But even then, he's still annoyed because he hasn't proven yet that he can be the top striker, as he's only helped others like Rin and Shido score. Hiyori then apologizes to Isagi for passing to the one open spot he saw, which Isagi missed. But Isagi tells him there's no need to apologize since the pass was perfect. It was just that his own body couldn't match the vision he had in his head. In return, Hiyori points out a flaw in Isagi's thinking, that creating a plan and then acting on it is too slow, especially against top players like Rin and Shido who are always aiming to score. So, if Isagi wants to keep up with Rin and Shido, even with lower physical skills, Hiyori suggests he starts thinking reflexively, which grabs Isagi's interest. Hiyori adds that once Isagi starts doing that, he will begin to sense a whole new world. Team B kicks off their next offensive with Karasu and Otoya leading again. Rin continues to mark Karasu, and Isagi joins in to make it a 2-on-1. Karasu calls out Isagi for leaving his side open, which gives Karasu a chance to pass to Chigiri. But Chigiri isn't actually open, because Shido races back just in time and kicks the pass away, turning it into a loose ball. Isagi's ego starts to burn, as he now wants to be the one who scores the final goal. Nanase gets hold of the loose ball that Shido knocked free, putting Team A back on the offensive to start their counterattack. Nanase passes to Isagi, who runs up the field with the ball. As he moves, Isagi thinks about how he's supposed to change his style of play, one that normally relies on seeing the field and thinking ahead, so that he can start thinking instinctively instead, to make up for his weaker physical skills compared to Rin and Shido. Isagi passes with Hiyori to help push the ball up the field. Karasu shows up to block Isagi's way, while Rin, who's being defended by Otoya, moves with Isagi and asks for the ball, with Rin joining in, and Nanase still managing to keep up while Saramadara trails behind him. The three of them, Isagi, Rin, and Nanase, form a passing triangle to keep advancing down the pitch. Isagi then sends the ball over to Hiyori on the side, but Hiyori is met by Chigiri, who blocks him. Isagi, Rin, and Shido all rush into the penalty box to be the one who finishes the final pass from Hiyori and scores the winning goal. As Isagi gets closer to the penalty box, he realizes he needs to change, because if he doesn't, he'll fall behind again like last time. He starts thinking about how he could use Rin and Shido's positions near the goal to his advantage, but then it hits him. This way of thinking is wrong, just like Hiyori told him, because it's too slow. At that moment, Isagi decides to stop overthinking and instead follow his instincts completely. His ego surges, and he runs toward the goal, guided only by where his instinct leads him. Suddenly, he sees the football field in a whole new way, just like the reflexive world Hiyori mentioned, a space where he moves without hesitation, purely on instinct. At the same time, Rin and Shido both get past Otoya and Shiguma inside the penalty area, ready to receive Hiyori's final pass and score. But they're both shocked when Isagi bursts in between them out of nowhere. Isagi ends up being the one who catches Hiyori's pass and kicks it into the net, scoring the final goal to end the game with a 5-4 win for Team A. After the goal, Isagi is left confused by what he just did, because for a brief moment, he was in a place where he could surpass both Rin and Shido. Meanwhile, in the Blue Lock control room, Ego and Henri have been watching the Team A versus Team B match on the screens. Ego explains that what they just saw from Isagi was something called flow, a state where a player is completely absorbed in intense focus. Taking interest in what just happened, Ego says that Isagi has now taken his first step into the world where miracles can happen. Nanase runs over excitedly to celebrate with Isagi after he scores the final goal, asking how he managed to do it, especially against top players like Rin and Shido. Isagi explains that he followed Hiyori's advice to stop overthinking and just act on instinct. He didn't plan anything, it just happened when he saw the space between Rin and Shido and dashed for it without thinking. Rin and Shido overhear the conversation, but they react differently. Shido praises Isagi, saying he had a great spark in that moment and that he's excited to see what Isagi does next. Rin, however, is annoyed and says the goal was just lucky and that Isagi doesn't even understand how he pulled it off. Shido defends Isagi, telling Rin that he can't handle seeing someone else do well, and that Isagi was clearly the best in that moment. Rin, already irritated, gets ready to fight, and a physical argument breaks out between the two. Rin accuses Shido of being okay with losing the spotlight, saying that makes him unworthy of being the best. Shido fires back, saying that Rin will never be the best because he can't recognize other people's brilliance. Nanase and Chigiri try to hold Rin back while Isagi and Hiyori stop Shido from fighting further. Otoya watches the scene unfold with interest, and Karasu is shocked that their team lost to people acting so immaturely. Just then, a loud announcement orders everyone to stop the fight immediately or face disqualification from the match against Japan's U20 team. With that, Rin and Shido are separated, and the players are asked to clear the field for the next game. Later, Isagi and Nanase are seen in the monitor room, watching a replay of their match. As they watch the goal again, Isagi explains that he normally thinks carefully before acting, but this time, he moved without thinking and ended up in the right spot to score. Nanase is amazed that pure instinct could lead to such a brilliant goal. Isagi admits it's the first time something that complicated came so naturally to him. Hiyori, also in the room, adds that he didn't expect Isagi to be the one to receive his pass, since it was intended for Rin or Shido. He tells Isagi it's now important to reflect and understand what happened during that play. Isagi then asks why Hiyori told him to use reflexive thinking. Hiyori says it comes from his experience as a gamer. He compares it to playing Tetris, where the blocks fall so fast that you don't have time to think, you just react. Football, he says, works the same way. Against average players, planning works, but against elite players like Rin and Shido, there's no time to pause. Isagi realizes that his usual way of thinking is too slow for high-level opponents. Hiyori continues, saying that gamers first learn and understand, but in fast games, they eventually just react. He says Isagi has now reached that stage in football. Isagi thinks back to the goal and remembers how clearly he understood the positioning, skills, and intentions of the other players in that moment. That helped him move without delay. Hiyori explains that all of Isagi's training and matches have changed him mentally. The outside world saw just a great goal, but inside, Isagi's speed of thought has increased. Nanase says it's like upgrading from 4G to 5G, and Hiyori agrees. Isagi realizes he entered a kind of trance state during the goal, but he also knows it only happened because Rin and Shido were focused on each other, giving him the chance. He thanks Hiyori and Nanase for their support. Nanase says it's because he can keep up with Isagi better than Rin or Shido, then nervously tries to take it back, but Isagi smiles and appreciates his help. Hiyori says Isagi's goal gave all of them a chance to shine. They clap in celebration, though Nanase claps a bit too hard. As Hiyori recovers, Isagi reflects on the trance and believes mastering it will take him even higher. Hiyori then points out that the next match is starting. They focus on the screen as Team A's second lineup, including Rin and Shido, gets ready to face Team C's starting lineup. Reo excitedly tells Nagi to watch him closely, and Nagi agrees as the game kicks off. After the kickoff, Ryo gets the ball and starts thinking to himself, saying that ever since Nagi left him, he's been pushing himself to become stronger. He's given everything he had to win, just so he could catch up to Nagi, but even now, Nagi feels so far ahead of him. That's why in this match, Ryo wants to prove to Nagi that he's the only one who belongs by his side. Ryo and Nagi work together by trading passes and get past Shido, and then Ryo sees the perfect chance to make a cross. The ball flies down, but it's not going to Nagi, because Ishikari, the tallest high school player, comes in and heads the ball away. The ball lands at Rin's feet, and Igarashi runs up to him, saying he can help, even though he's lying straight to his face. That's just how Igarashi is. Somehow, Rin decides to pass to him, which makes Igarashi super excited, until Ryo steps in and blocks his path. Igarashi notices both Rin and Shido waiting for a pass, and tries to figure out who to pass to. Suddenly, he hears Shido yelling at him, threatening to smash his head in if he doesn't pass, which scares Igarashi into kicking the ball towards Shido. But Gagamaru is guarding that area well, and he jumps up and uses a scorpion kick to deflect the ball, even though it costs him most of the ribs in his body. The ball then goes to the number 5 player, Yukimiya Kenyu, who immediately finds himself in trouble as Rin blocks his path. Yukimiya handles it by performing drag scissors, which throws Rin off. But even behind Rin is Shido, and somehow, Yukimiya manages to fool him too, breaking both their ankles in the process. Still, his problems don't end there, because Ishikari and someone with half a brain are closing in. Reo comes up and offers support, telling Yukimiya to use him, but Yukimiya doesn't play that way. Instead, he goes into a shooting stance and takes a shot at the goal, even though he's more than 30 meters away and has no clear opening. The ball looks like it is flying way over the goal, and Igarashi laughs, thinking Yukimiya made a mistake. But then the ball starts to drop. It's revealed that Yukimiya shot a gyro shot. Even though it's a great shot, it's still not over, because Ryu rushes in to intercept it. But so does someone else. That someone turns out to be the one and only Nagi Seishiro, who traps the ball just outside the goal and then makes an amazing shot straight into the net, scoring the first goal of the match. However, what matters more to Nagi is that he turns to Yukimiya and apologizes for stealing his goal. Ryo watches from a distance, thinking that he's not capable of scoring a goal like the one Nagi just did. Everything from Yukimiya's dribble to his gyro shot and Nagi's choice to trap the ball. It wasn't about them linking up, but rather showing off their own super plays. They were making each other better, and to Ryo, it feels like he'll never catch up. He feels like he's no longer enough to satisfy Nagi, especially since Nagi now looks like he's having so much fun. Ryo remembers how bored Nagi used to look when receiving his passes, and now realizes this isn't the same Nagi anymore. Most importantly, Nagi isn't Ryo's treasure anymore. The match restarts, and Shido thinks Rin will play with him, which of course, Rin won't. Ryo prepares to stop Rin while thinking that the top 6 players are in a league of their own, at a level that can't be reached through effort alone. They each have special weapons that go far beyond what's normal. In contrast, Ryo is just a balanced all-rounder without any standout weapons. No matter how much he improves the quality of his play, his maximum stats will only cap at 99. With specs like that, there's no way he can ever become one of the top 6. Rin then gets past Ryo using a nutmeg, and Igarashi comes over asking for a pass. Instead, Rin sends the ball to Ishikari, who heads it to Ryu, who then gets it back to Rin's feet, leading to an easy goal that evens the score. Ryo is stunned watching the top 6 in action. He reflects that all his life, he's always gotten what he wanted, but now it seems there are things in the world he just can't reach, like being a world champion or the best striker in the world. And it's not just Ryo who wants that. He knows that's the only thing that can truly fire up those guys. He calls them complete idiots, but also admits that's exactly why they shine so brightly. But Ryo is different. Even if he loses here, he could still go back and live a normal life just fine. He calls all of it nonsensical, saying that if he were to return to his company, he'd only find boredom there. What he truly wants is right here in Blue Lock. And if his dream is already something doomed to fail, then he'll throw everything else away and become an idiot just like the others. As the match restarts, he charges forward on the field. Yukimiya has the ball and easily gets past Igarashi, but fails when Rin shows up. The loose ball lands at Ryo's feet. Ryo thinks again that no matter how much he raises his stats, he can never go beyond the 99 limit. But with his talent and ability to always play at a consistently high level, Ryo says it's time to be brave and get serious again as he controls the ball. He continues to push forward and sees a chance with Nagi. Nagi calls out, telling him to come to him, but Ryo gets into a shooting stance, saying that he won't pass, that he's changed too since arriving at Blue Lock. Ryo finally shoots, and it's not just any shot, it's the exact same shot that Yukimiya used. The ball flies into the net, and Ryo introduces his new style, the infamous chameleon style. With that goal, they take the lead. After that, we see the trio watching Ryo's goal in full action. Isagi is impressed and says that this is the answer Ryo came up with in order to survive in Blue Lock. Nanase comments that copying others must make Ryo unbeatable, but Hiyori explains that copying others is still just copying. No matter how well you do it, You can only reach 99% of the original's true power. And if Ryo tries to copy someone strong enough to go beyond 100%, he won't be able to beat them easily. While they're discussing this, we see Rin scoring the final goal of the match, giving Team A their well-earned win. After that, Ryo sits down on the ground, saying that his new style isn't strong enough to beat the top 6 just yet, but he's definitely caught a glimpse of the path he needs to follow for his evolution. Nagi walks over and compliments Ryo on his goal, but Ryo looks at him with a somewhat sad expression and says, "It's still not enough. It's not the kind of football that Nagi wants to play." Nagi agrees, and Ryo tells him not to wait around for him, but to keep waiting for him from above, thinking that he'll become someone Nagi wants to chase after and that he won't stop until he reaches his goal. Then, the scene shifts to the Football Association's top-secret meeting room, where Japan's team coach and the president of the football union are talking. But they're so boring that we skip their speech, because the real drama begins when Sei bursts into the room. He says he's watched the videos of all the Japan U20 players and calls them all useless, especially the forwards. He tells them that he only agreed to join the team because he thought he'd get to play against Blue Lock. But if they're going to send out some school team-level trash, then he's backing out. The football coach gets really angry, but the other guy knows how to make a deal and tells Sei he can nominate anyone to play in the match as long as they're from Japan. Sei responds that there's one striker he wants to play with, and that striker is in Blue Lock. After that, the story moves to the third selection waiting room, where Isagi wakes up and goes to check out the final game of the selection. He's greeted by a bunch of players having a watch party of the matches. Nanase tells him that he tried to wake him up, but it was impossible, though Isagi can still watch the recordings and see the names of the players who scored up on the board. Isagi takes a quick glance and sees that both Bachira and Barou have managed to score, but that's not all. As the last match nears its end, Rin and Shido are both going after the ball. As they get closer to the goal, they crash into each other, but they still win the game. Right after that, they start fighting again. Shido lands a hard kick to Rin's face, knocking him to the ground. But even that doesn't satisfy Shido, and he goes in for a finishing blow. However, before he can do it, Ego activates a shock system that paralyzes Shido. Ego then announces that the tryouts are over and that 6 hours from now, he'll reveal who the regulars are for the upcoming match against the U20 team.